G'day Jason, here's your machine. This is the Breville Barista Express in Black Sesame. Thanks again for your recurring business. So this machine is actually one of my cleaner ones. I've just finished doing the checkup. This was a trade-in. One of my customers, she upgraded to an Oracle, gave it to me. It's only I think 2, maybe 3 years old, barely used. She told me she used it like once or twice a week. The machine is very clean for its age. It's got a scratch here, a few fine scratches on the front where the cups go in and out. But honestly, I would give this a 9 out of 10 in terms of the condition, 10 being like an as-new machine. And as you saw in the photos, it's been serviced, so I've changed some of the seals. I've done the cleaning cycles. I'm also including these accessories that come with it. So 4 baskets, cleaning kit, razor, tamper, and obviously the portafilter. Milk jug as well. In this video, I'll quickly make a coffee for myself. I'm going to be making let's make a magic latte. That's just a latte, actually a short latte, using a small quantity of milk. I like to begin every session with a blank shot, so warming up the machine and the portafilter and the cup by running double shot of hot water, nothing in the portafilter. This also acts as a bit of a cleaning cycle. Flushing out any coffee grounds, any oils that are in the grip head, and the baskets. You can do that once or twice. Then I'm going to grab a tissue and wipe this basket. Wipe it nice and dry, drain all the water. And I'm going to be using my scale here to measure the inputs and outputs. I'm using the double basket now, and that takes 18 grams of ground coffee. So while this isn't a science experiment, I like to keep things as close as possible to the recommended recipe. And for espresso, it's 18 grams in, 36 grams out. And for magic, it's actually less than 36, maybe 30 or 20, 24, 25. But we'll see what we get. I've never made a coffee on this particular machine because I've just finished cleaning it and doing the service. So this is my first coffee on it. I have had a look at the grind size before the video, and it seemed to be close enough to what my personal machine does using the same beans. So we should get an okay result, and we'll change it as necessary. I won't be spending too much time on the dialing in of the grind size and the beans, because you'll probably be using different beans. I'm using the Aldi dark beans. Yeah, they're pretty good for the money, and I'd recommend usually to get your beans fresh and freshly roasted from a roaster nearby. But if you have to go to the supermarket for whatever reason, the Aldi brand is the only one I'd recommend in Australia. Yes, so I've turned on my scale. It's on 0 now. I'm going to be making a double shot, but I'll put it on the single setting here. The single will give you half of the double dose, but what that allows us to do is it reduces the mess. So if you do the double quantity straight away, it will probably overfill, and not necessarily overfill, but it will be too high, and then as you take it up, it will spill down the counter, on the floor, and on the machine. So you lose a few grams that way. I like to avoid that, so I'll put it on the single setting. I'll put this on the 12 o'clock setting. Most of the machines that I've used are usually okay at the 12 o'clock setting. Then I'll grind. And if this gives me 9 grams, which is half of 18, then I'll continue. So that's the first dose. Let's have a look. That's exactly, that's 8.4. I'll change it by 1 notch, so now it's at about 1 o'clock position. And just topping it up to 9 grams. So it's 9.0, that's good. The trick here is after you do this, so the trick is split your dose into 2 to reduce the mess. And the other thing is to press after the first dose. This will make space for the second dose, and it will reduce the mess that usually happens when you do the whole thing in one go. I'll go get my milk. Alrighty. Looks like we did make a mess after all. Maybe 1 o'clock is too much coffee. Maybe these beans are just very large in volume. That's 17.8. Yeah, I think this is a good setting. So keep it at the 1 o'clock position. It should give you roughly 18 grams if you do it twice. But yeah, so we got a tiny bit of spillage down the sides here, but it's not horrible. It could have been worse, I guess. It would have been worse if we let it go for the full 2-shot duration rather than doing it in 2 steps. But anyway, enough about that. After you get your 18 grams in, or 17.8 grams, spread it around with your hand. Make sure it's nice and flat before you press it, because if you press on uneven surfaces, you'll get uneven pressures. But if you flatten it out with your hand or with your palm, you'll get a better result when you make the coffee. Put nice even pressure all around it. Make sure you are doing it firmly and on a flat surface, and make sure the temper itself is flat. So you don't want to press and be wonky or at an angle or something. If you don't have a scale, and that's fine, not everyone wants to measure their coffee every day. If you don't have or don't want to use a scale, just look at the silver part on the temper. So this silver part actually is a bit of a guide. It should disappear when you have the correct amount of coffee. Or in other words, this is the depth that your temper should go to after you press the correct amount of coffee in. So we have the correct amount of coffee here, about 18 grams, and this silver part disappears. It sinks into the basket by this amount. The tamper sinks into the basket by this amount, the silver part. If you can still see a bit of the silver part like this after you've pressed, so say I just finished tamping and this is the hardest I can tamp and I can still see the silver, then that tells you that you have too much coffee. On the other hand, if the basket sinks too deep into the basket, if the tamper sinks too deep into the basket, so instead of being here, if it sinks all the way down to here, then that's too little coffee. I'm exaggerating here, but yeah, this is what it should look like. Make sure it's nice and polished, nice and flat, yeah, clean the edges, and put the tamper back, lock it in, and yeah, now you're ready to make the coffee. We'll use the default settings, so there's the single and the double. I'll try to use the single just because I want it to be concentrated. You know what, I'll test the double button just to give you a bit of an idea of what that looks like. So that means I'm just going to be making a normal latte. But yeah, obviously you can program these to whatever length you'd like. You can go from as little as 20 mils of water to as much as 200 mils of water with, I think the standard is 60 mils and 100 mils, or maybe 80 and 100 mils. In coffee language, that probably translates to about 40 or 50 grams of coffee. And this is a little bit less. It's hard to say because each bean will give you different results. So for example, if I have a very fresh bean and a very fine grind size that chokes the machine, it might only give me about 10 or 20 grams of coffee, versus if I have really old beans or a very large grind size, it'll flow very quickly and I'll actually be getting 60 or 70 mils of coffee, which won't taste great. I can tell you that for sure. At least from my experience. But yeah, most coffees taste pretty good between 30 to 40 grams. After 40, 45, you start noticing the acidity and over-extraction. But let's not make this video 2 days long. I'm going to turn on my scale again. Now I'm using the cup. So I'm going to measure the inputs and outputs into the cup. Standard coffee is 2 to 1. So for every gram of coffee I put in, I want 2 grams out. So now I'm going to put it on 0 after adding my syrup. And I'll press the double button. Let's see what that gives us. Hopefully it should be close enough. If not, I'll just give you advice on how you can improve your shots. Should ramp up quickly. I should have timed it as well, but we'll let it go. Looks like it's flowing at a decent rate. Maybe a bit quick, but pressure is good at 1 o'clock. It's nice and even pressure. I'll let it go for the full duration. That's a lot of coffee. So maybe too quick, I would say. Maybe we should have gone to grind size. Oh, I forgot to mention this is grind size 6. This is 60 mils of coffee in what seemed to be 20-25 seconds. So that's definitely over extracted. Sorry, that's definitely under extracted, meaning that it went over the specified ratio. That's fine. That means with these beans I needed to grind a bit finer. So the grind size is on number 6. Now from your other machine, I'm sure you know that fine grind size means slower pour. So if I wanted to slow this down, I'd jump from a 6 to maybe a 5 or a 4 for this sort of bean. But I'll leave it there. I won't tinker too much. But yeah, for these beans, it's too much, and I got too much coffee actually. You can almost call this like a lungo or a long black or an Americano or something like that. It's a very, very large amount of coffee for the beans. So this is I would say it's a 3-to-1 ratio, if not more, 3.5. It should be okay if you salvage it with milk and syrup and sugars and whatever. But if I were a perfectionist, I would probably do this again. But yeah, I think you're probably like 5 minutes away. I won't make this video too long. And yeah, with cleaning, similar to your Oracle, similar to your dual boiler. Just knock off the coffee, run another blank shot to rinse everything. If you want, just get a tissue and wipe the group head. That's going to make everything nice and fresh. And yeah, the machine will tell you when to drain the tray. It'll tell you when to do the cleaning cycle. It'll tell you when you need to do the descale cycle. It's a pretty smart machine. And I'm sure you'll enjoy it in your caravan. Now I will stop the video. I don't think I'm going to have time to make a full coffee in this video, so I'll stop it there. But yeah, the machine works fine. Comes with 3 months of warranty, so if there's any issues, even beyond the warranty period, just let me know. I've got full trust that it won't give you any troubles anytime soon. And yeah, again, thanks for your business. I'll see you very soon. Cheers. Steam works fine. Clean it off. Gives you a few seconds to clean it up. Give it a purge after you're done to clean the milk. Then when you turn it off, wait 5 seconds. It'll purge itself. It'll auto clean. But yeah, in the first 10 or 15 seconds, it'll take its time to warm up. Unlike your dual boiler and unlike the Oracle, it doesn't have 2 boilers, so you'll have to wait. So when you turn it on, it gives a few mils of water. It takes about 15 seconds to start giving steam, and then it'll start ramping up. But yeah, it'll make a good coffee there.